Hi, Miss Patricia Reid-Waugh. How are you?
Hello, Miss Dr. Shelley. I am fine, thank you. I'm doing well. Doing well, thanks.
So, Miss Patricia, we're going to be chatting with you today as an what I call a prolific author, and someone who has been out there on a journey to not to use your book to sell, right? Not only for book sales, but beyond book sales. So that's what we want to chat. And the whole purpose of this is to help other new and aspiring authors learn to develop their craft over time. So as a member of the writers group of South Florida, that's what you're here for, and to educate other authors on give them some spicy ideas as to what's the next step after they've written and published their books. So I'll start with asking you a question, and just remember that I won't be introducing you because we are hoping that over time, during this conversation, they will learn, I used to say everything about you, but most things about you. So as a start off, I'll start with the fact that you were or are a certified an accountant, right? A chartered accountant, ACCA. That was your over time, that was your career. And then you retired. And I'm interested in finding out, very curious about what prompted you to begin writing books on retirement planning after your own retirement. And there's a follow-up question to that, but I'll start with that one.
Yes. Well, okay, first of all, let me correct you. I don't consider myself a prolific writer because I only have two books.
But it
And
is
I
what you have done with those
I-
two
and
books.
I think that some people, who have written more books than that,
Right.
would certainly not call me a prolific writer. But it has been an exciting journey. As you say, I was in the accounting field. That's my profession,
Yeah.
and I had to come back from Nevis, where I was living,
Hmm.
because of illness,
Okay.
and that prompted me to come out of the working world,
Hmm.
and I was here. I always loved writing. That's
Hmm.
one thing I should put out there. I always loved writing. But
Hmm.
what I used to do is I used to write like poems. I
Hmm.
used to write like skits. So like if the office is having something, if somebody retires from the office, I would put together a poem about the person in the office and the interaction and so on.
Yes.
And
Yes.
most of my stuff like that, was quite funny. As a church woman, we have
Hmm.
the Christmas concerts, the Easter concerts, the Black History concerts. I would write things for that, skits and poetry and so on. So I really liked writing. I did literature at
Hmm.
A levels.
Hmm.
So I although I was a mathematician
Hmm.
inclined, but
Hmm.
always loved writing.
Hmm.
And when I came back to Jamaica and sort of settled down, I started writing stories of my life because I think you follow me on social media and you know
Yes.
that there's always something happening to me. Up to this morning, the kitchen knife sliced my
Oh my God.
finger, right? So there are a lot of stories of my life
And
that.
I like that. But one thing that stood out for me too is that you started, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you also started out as a high school teacher as well, right?
Right. Yes,
Yeah,
I taught mathematics at
right,
Calabar when I
right,
left
right, right.
university. I taught for 7 years at
Yeah,
Calabar mathematics because
yeah,
that was my principal
right,
discipline.
right, right.
And
And for
then
those who don't know, Calabar is a boys' school, all boys school in Jamaica, high school, all boys high school in Jamaica.
yes.
Yeah.
So then I went into accounting, did
Mhm.
did my master's in accounting and everything, qualified, worked with
Uh-huh.
Deloitte in Jamaica, worked with
Mm-hmm.
Deloitte in St. Martin. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was asked to come to Nevis.
Mm-hmm.
The government of Nevis asked me to come there to head their financial services
Right.
regulatory unit.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent 7 glorious years there. Been a
Wow.
great time. And then, of course, injury. Uh,
Okay.
well, not injury, but illness.
Right.
And
Right.
and I had to come back to Jamaica because of the access to medical care. So I I started writing stories
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the intention was to put out a book on
Mm-hmm.
on my life, these
Yes.
life
Yes.
stories,
Yes.
because people tell me that my life is so colorful, black, yellow, red, pink, green.
It's
Yes,
alive, right? It's alive because those colors make
exactly.
it alive, right?
So I saw this on television. I saw this course, this woman being interviewed, Alicia Little. She
Mm-hmm.
has this internet income Jamaica outfit,
Mm-hmm.
and she was going to have a publishing course, a 2-day publishing course. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, good,
Mm-hmm.
let me go to that. And I
Mm-hmm.
signed up for it and
Mm-hmm.
I went. Well, when I went, I discovered that the facilitator, he actually put out, they have these racy books on Amazon that
Mm-hmm.
these series of books
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
you deal with a lot of sex stuff
Okay.
and so on.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So he actually was making a lot of money on that.
Mm-hmm.
And his primary intention was to show people that they could make money from putting out these books.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a publishing course, so he did deal with the elements of publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So on the first day, he actually asked us, if you were to write a book, what would be the topic?
Mm-hmm.
My topic was the joys of retirement. I just thought of the joys of retirement, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just doing this just for,
Mm-hmm.
to satisfy what was happening then.
Right.
And then he showed us how to map out chapters.
Right.
So I started mapping out chapters. What would you do in retirement? You would travel. You would
Yeah.
learn to play a musical instrument, because at that time I was learning to play the violin.
Oh,
And
okay.
then you would do mentoring and volunteering, which I
Mm-hmm.
was involved with.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would do hobbies, and you would get on the internet. You would learn a lot about the internet. And
Mm-hmm.
so all those things I was just mapping out for the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of this
That's
course.
it. Mm-hmm.
Of course, at the end of it, I just threw down the papers and went along my
With
business,
Eli.
continuing to do what I was doing before. About sometime in March, I was looking for something, and
Mm-hmm.
I bounced on these papers, and I
Mm-hmm.
took it up and started looking at it. And I said, I should really write this book. It was
And that was March. You said March. When
March
you talk,
2016,
right,
2016.
right. That's for context.
And and it was just that exactly is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Okay.
started, because I said, if people, I mean, I am doing a lot of these things
Mm-hmm.
that would be captured in this book. So, of course, I had to do some research. I had to, check
So, right,
on some
right,
stuff and so on.
right,
But
right,
then I just got to work.
nice.
And in 9 months, I had a
You
book.
gave birth to a baby. Book baby.
and and it was called Retirement: A New Adventure.
Excellent,
So,
excellent. So I'll stop you there.
uh-huh.
Excellent. So retirement, a new adventure. So I want to jump into the next question. It says, which many authors struggle with marketing beyond traditional book sales. How did you initially identify speaking opportunities at organizations and events as a viable channel for your book? So
Well,
from
well,
what you are sharing there, transition into that now and how, because I know you started from the first book.
Yes, yes.
Right, right.
Initially, the book launch, it really started with the book launch because
Okay.
I had a big book launch.
Yeah.
Of course, it's my first book, and it was important. I had a big book launch, and I invited Professor Mervyn Morris.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was giving this joke when I contacted Professor Morris when the manuscript was done, to ask him if he could look at the manuscript
Mhm,
for me.
mhm,
And he just basically just shoved me aside
mhm.
because I guess I was a no name.
Right, right. Usually that's how
you
it
know.
starts. Usually
So
that's how
he
it
just
starts.
shook me aside and he just said, no, he doesn't have any time for that. But
Mhm,
when I'm finished with the book, when I publish the book, I can let him know and he'll buy a copy. That's what he said to me.
mhm,
So
mhm.
of course, when I published the book, I made sure to send him an invitation to the launch. And
Excellent.
and he actually came. And what happened then was that
Mhm.
a photograph, there was somebody from the Observer there,
Yeah.
a
Uh-huh.
reporter from the Observer, and a photograph was in the papers with a long article saying praise for retired
Climate and
accountant. Yes, yes. Who launches book, something of that nature. And the photograph had Mervyn Morris,
Ah,
um, Jaja Nsombi Jaja, who was
yes,
my guest
yes.
speaker.
Oh
Now,
yeah, Dr. Georgia. Yes, yes, yes.
Nsombi is
Yeah.
an influencer
Yes,
in
yes, yes,
Jamaica. She was
yes,
my guest speaker,
yes, yes,
and myself. So the
yes.
three of us were on this photograph in the newspaper, looking
Ah,
at this book, and really was that was a publicity that
right, right.
I needed
So
because
it's so funny that you have mentioned that because I was talking with the same kind of author interview with Dale Mahfood recently, and he also said the same thing. It was a photograph that he had started off with, and that's the exposure from the
right.
photograph exposed his writing. And when I talk to you about being prolific, I'm not talking about the number of books that you have. I'm talking about what you've done.
The influence.
Yes, that's where the prolific part of it comes in. The
Yes,
book that you've written, but it didn't stop there. It's the next step, and that's why I wanted to chat with you to hear and learn for the benefit of others. How can you apply these things um to it? So continue with the story before we
yes.
get to the next question.
So having Mervyn Morris as somebody who is respected in the literary
Right, right,
field,
right, right.
in a photograph with me and my book, then everybody saw it, and
Mm-hmm.
people who I knew now started calling me and asking me if I can come and talk to their
Yeah,
Lions Club and their Rotary Club and my
yeah.
Calabar Boys.
Uh,
An old boyfriend of mine asked me to come and talk to his men's fellowship. His men's fellowship.
Yes,
So when I go now, what happens is that I take a whole stack of books, and everybody who is there in those
yes.
groups, they purchase the book
Right,
because
right, right,
they're trying to patronize,
right. Yes,
so I did quite a bit of that, and as far as I was concerned, those were marketing costs,
yes,
right?
yes,
Because
yes.
I wasn't getting paid to do it,
Right,
but
right.
these were
An
opportunities for
investment,
me
right,
to.
right, right.
And then Mrs. Dawn Azan, who is the mother of the person who owns
Yeah,
Megamart,
yes,
right?
yes,
And she's a director of Megamart.
yes.
She got a hold of my book
Mm-hmm.
somehow. And then she contacted me and she said, do you want to do a book signing at all of the Megamart stores? I said, of
Wow.
course. Now,
Excellent, of
there's a
course.
store in Kingston, there's a store in Portmore, one in Montego Bay, and one in Mandeville. So she arranged for
You
me
went on a tour.
to do 4 Saturdays, right? In each of these
Yeah,
locations.
yeah,
Now understand, Megamart does not sell books. Megamart sells food and
yes,
haberdashery and all of that.
yes,
But
yes,
and then when told them, I said, well, how are you gonna do it? Are you gonna put the stock of books in your system and so on? They said, no, 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 no. You just come in, we're gonna give you a corner, and
yes,
you just go there and you just do your thing, sell your books, and whatever
yeah.
money you get, that is yours.
Belongs to you. Excellent.
So that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people know what this place that I was located was kind of right behind the cashiers. So
Mm-hmm.
when
Okay.
people completed their shopping and they were coming out now, then I would walk up to them and introduce
Yes, yes,
myself,
yes, yes,
and
yes.
then I also had a guest book, and I
Mm.
made everybody sign up the book.
Ah,
So so people, I had people who were buying who actually purchased a book, because the thing is that the book cover is very attractive.
yes,
That
yes, yes.
first book there, that
Mm-hmm.
has on, these people and this woman and this
Right, right,
cake and
right.
so on. So it's very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
So people now were they were purchasing the book, and people were leaving their contact information. Some people weren't able to purchase a book then, but
Mm-hmm.
I told them where the books were,
Right, right,
and
right.
they actually went there. Now, another thing that happened during that period was my relative, who everybody should know, Dr. Indiana Robinson,
Okay.
right? Indy, she invited me to join the
Mhm.
your book
Right, which is right,
writers club.
Writers
Right.
Group of South Florida.
Yes. And then I came to that first event in
Mm,
March 2017.
mm.
I came to that first author meet and
Yes, yes,
speak
yes,
and
yes,
sign
yes, yes.
in Miami.
Right.
Now, when I was planning to come to that event, I knew I was going to go and see my brother who lived in Venice,
Okay.
Florida,
Uh-huh.
right? So what I did was I contacted the Barnes and Noble
Mm-hmm.
bookstore in Sarasota and told them that I was coming there, and because I realized that they did author signings
Right, right.
in the
Yes,
store,
yes,
Barnes and
yes.
Noble. So I contacted them and I said, I'm coming there and I would love to do a book signing here. And they said yes.
Mhm.
And what they did was they made sure that there were a dozen copies of the
Right,
book
of the books too. Uh-huh.
in the store.
Right, right, right.
Well, when I was finished, the dozen copies were gone, and I had to take some out of my car and bring
Yes.
in.
Perfect. You see, always have a supply elsewhere in
Yes,
the
yes,
car
yes.
so close by.
Right.
Right.
I brought those in, and we sold 14 copies.
Okay.
And the manager told me it's the first time she has seen an author sell so many copies of the book.
Okay.
But I was just working it.
Yeah.
And you have to use your personality. You
Yeah.
have to you can't behave as if you're shy
Right. Uh-huh.
and you
Yes,
see.
yes, 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 I understand that. So
So
those, like I said to you, we have always said it's not about necessarily the book sales, but it is the awareness that you showing up at these different events and you using it and you owning it. You're going to to one event, and from that writers group event, you went to see your brother, and in that area you went further, you went to Barnes and Noble and all of those. I'm sure you took a lot of pictures, right?
yeah, well,
Right.
I have one specific picture,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a picture that I use all the time,
Right.
showing me in Barnes and Noble.
Right, right,
You
right.
see, so
Excellent. So that's what I'm saying. And I won't even want to get into time does not allow us to get into the fact that you did the same thing. I saw you on social media as well. And where was it? Iceland? Or where did you go? The
uh,
Arctic, Iceland, somewhere like that.
Alaska.
Alaska,
Oh,
Alaska.
okay.
You went there and you did the same thing. So it is something, and that's what I said to you. I admire what you do in going out and whether it is a lot of book sales or not. Because again, it is not about the book sales. It's more about what you do with it.
Putting yourself out there,
Yes,
because that Alaska thing, what I
yes,
did with Alaska, I was going to be there for in Seward, Alaska for 3 weeks. And
yes.
what I actually did was contacted the library
Uh-huh.
and told them that I wanted to present them copies of my two books.
Right.
And also I would like to do a seminar, a
Okay.
little workshop on
Right.
retirement.
Right.
So all of that was organized. I did a little 1 hour thing on
Mhm.
retirement and made a presentation of my books to the library. And it was just a joy to see my books
Right.
on the
Right.
shelf,
Right.
right?
Right.
In
Right.
new to the library. They have a
Yes.
section that they say new to the
Oh, okay.
library.
Okay.
And it was just a joy. So wherever you are going, and you
Yeah.
might just be going for, because I was going on a cruise, but I was thinking my book also,
Yes.
not
Yes. Yes.
just,
The cruise.
not just the cruise, but
Right.
the book.
So you always have it up front and center to use as a
How
tool.
you can capitalize
Yeah.
on the opportunities.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mhm.
So my next question concerns your books have, served as both products and credentials for your speaking career. Did you strategically design your book's content to create natural speaking opportunities?
I would say no for the first one,
Right.
but
But for the
but
second,
but yes for the second, because the first one, as I say,
right,
how that came
right,
was just a sort of buck up sort
right,
of a
right,
thing.
right, right,
But then when I was being exposed and people wanted me to talk now at
right,
retirement seminars
right,
that they were having for like the 60-year-olds up,
yes,
that is when now I started, because I would talk like I did some presentations, for instance, for the Nurses Association, and
right,
all of that was free. But then when the Jamaica Teachers Association now approached me and said they were having this series of retirement seminars, and they
mm-hmm,
would like me to make a presentation,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
at each of them, that's when I said, well, I'll have to get some gas money.
Of course,
and that
of
was
course.
and
You
that
turned
was
it
when I
now into a venture.
that was when I first started charging for
Right,
the presentations.
excellent.
And so the first book now, what I did was I went through and I did a presentation based on the book itself,
Right,
right?
uh-huh,
And then what was happening was that when I was going to do these seminars, the people were saying to me, "Oh Lord," because remember these are mainly people 60 to 65.
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes,
they were saying, "Oh Lord, oh, you should have told them, we should have known this. I'm sorry you didn't talk to me 10 years ago."
right,
And
right,
and
right,
all of that.
right.
So that was when I said, I'm going to go on a mission now on
Yes,
starting to target the younger people.
excellent, excellent.
So I thought about from 40 up, because I said, before 40, they're coming out of university, they're trying to pay back the students' loan,
Yes,
they're
yes,
looking, they're
yes, yes.
looking husbands and wives and
Children,
and and all of that, right? And buying car and
yes, yes, yes.
so I said, let me just wait until they are 40, right? When the big 40, because when the big 40 hits you, then
What's
your mind starts going into a different place.
happening?
And and so that's what I did. And I
Okay.
started thinking about what should people know
Mm-hmm.
about retirement? What should
Mm-hmm.
younger people know and
Right, right,
understand?
right.
And I just put it out there. I put my whole personal situation there that I was not prepared for it. It just came. That I
Mm-hmm.
had health challenges, and my health care is costing me so much.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so you need to have health insurance coming into this stage, because you can't you will be denied health insurance, as I was at
Mm-hmm.
this stage,
Mm-hmm.
because I know already had all of
Pre-existing condition.
these pre-existing conditions and so on. So, and then I talk about the whole matter of the coming in and being isolated, and not having a good network.
Right,
The
right,
fact,
right.
I actually started that section with the looking at the state where people die, and a week later, when they start to smell, that's when somebody knows that they're dead. you know
Mm-hmm.
so I talked about all of that. I talked about the financial, I talked
Mm-hmm.
about the physical, and I
Mm-hmm.
talked about the psychological aspect of
Right.
it.
So the holistic
So the
thing that you
holistic,
had
yes, the
coming in, and this is
holistic
from your
approach.
years of training as a school
Right.
teacher, then into being an accountant. So people will listen to you because you're a chartered accountant, you're financially sound in terms of your mind, and all of those things that you were doing in terms of finances was brought into it. So that to transition into the next question, well,
That was
is
so
is there a system that you use to track which speaking engagements yield the best results?
not really. No, I don't use any system, because
That's it.
what really happens is that
Mm-hmm.
if you invite me to, like a company wants me to come in and do a presentation,
Mm-hmm.
I will suggest to them that they purchase even 5 books
Mm-hmm.
as
Right,
giveaways.
right,
You
right,
see?
right, right,
So I'm able to get books sold that
right,
way,
right, right.
outside of the books that are sold at the bookstore. And then I did this. So I did 3 presentations for this agency, and
Mm-hmm.
they had a total of 104
Mm,
participants between
mm.
all of them, and they actually bought 104
Excellent,
books.
right. So that's what I'm saying. So this system that you're using, you're not identified as a system, but you also bring books with you to speaking engagements and so on.
Right.
And though they buy 5 books, it's not any money at all coming in, but it is that you're also going out there to do that presentation. And from that presentation, you're also being paid for this presentation. And
So you're
that's
right.
where that journey comes in,
So,
where
so
money is coming back to you.
precisely. So
Right,
you're being paid to do the presentation,
right,
and then you might get 5 books sold,
right.
but in another 2 weeks time, the Pegasus calls me to tell me, Mrs. Reid-Waugh, we've run out of books. Can you send an invoice for the last 10 books, and bring 10 more? Because the people who are hearing you,
Right, right.
they actually go out. I
Yeah.
have had people walk up to me and tell me, I went to my friend's house and I
And
saw
I
your
saw
book,
this book.
and exactly. Yes. So that is, that is
Mhm.
is really an
Yes,
important
yes,
part
yes,
of
yes.
it.
So you have dropped us some really good gems, and I was taking some notes and I was looking at it. So you mentioned about your book cover at being attractive enough to, so even this person that you just spoke about went to somebody else's house and they saw it and it was attractive to them. You get when you go and you speak, you have a book signing. So I guess you're collecting also the guest book, you're collecting people's
The
information,
the
email
contact
addresses. So, and I
information.
know you have
Yeah.
a newsletter. And what stands out also is the importance of audience feedback, because you get the audience feedback, and not only do you get it, but you use it. So it once said, okay, who should have talked to me about that 20 years ago? So you started targeting those who are 40 and over, and then you took it into companies. You took it into the hotel, as you mentioned about Pegasus, and you run out of books and you have books in your car and so on. So these are all tips for authors to realize, how can I, not what I call write and run, or publish and run. So you publish a book and you think that it's going to magically disappear on Amazon because people are going to just see the book and just buy it. No, you have to do your own marketing. And that takes me to the last question that I want to ask you. For authors considering a similar approach of using their books as platforms for speaking, what common misconceptions should they avoid?
Well, sorry, go again.
Yeah, what common misconceptions should
Oh, the
misconceptions
misconceptions.
should authors avoid if they're planning to basically follow your path, your
Okay.
advice that you're giving us today?
What one of the things that I believe that people think that your book is just to be in a bookstore,
Right.
right? Your your book can be anywhere that you have traffic.
I like that. Anywhere that you
Simple.
have traffic.
Anywhere there is traffic, that is where your book. So, um, Pegasus gift shop, the Pegasus Hotel gift shop.
Yeah, right, right.
Um, I went there, talked to them, and put my book there.
Yeah,
There are people who are coming to Pegasus for conferences and
yeah,
all of that. They're walking into that bookstore and they're seeing
yeah,
seeing
yeah,
seeing my book and
yeah,
purchasing the book.
yeah.
So the book is in Barbados, it is in wherever,
Alaska.
probably Dubai.
Yes,
Um, as I said, Megamart, I
yes,
did the book signings in Megamart, and Megamart does not sell books.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
you have to reach out to
To the
traffic,
non-traditional,
where
right.
traffic is,
Uh-huh.
and do, put your books there in terms of maybe a special event.
Yes.
You see,
Uh-huh.
just
Yes, yes, yes. It
ask
makes
people,
sense. That makes
okay?
sense. I have
And
another part to that question that I want to ask you. The other angle of it is, what preparatory steps would you recommend to people, to authors who are deciding to follow your path? What preparatory steps would you recommend to them before their first speaking engagement?
okay, one of the important things is you have to be credible.
Credible, right?
You have to, and that is probably the most important thing. If you're writing a book, I am writing a book about the joys of retirement and the joys of aging and so on. I can't be demonstrating that every little thing popping me down, right? So even though I have the kidney disease, right? And my thyroid is gone and piece of my colon is gone and the rest of it is stapled up and all and that.
You're talking serious things and
I
you're making me laugh.
I can't show that. I can't show that out there.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
have to put out there a credible
Yeah,
um
yes,
face
yes, yes,
of positive
yes, right,
aging.
right, right, right.
You see?
Yes,
So that is what you have to understand, that you have to build you are your brand.
yeah, yes,
And
yes,
if you are going to be writing a book about how Jesus saves, all
yes,
right?
yes.
You can't be putting out there that every little thing
It's
upset you.
a problem.
And you see?
So I will share one thing that you were right on the ball. I was speaking with a group at Nova a University, Southeastern University. They had asked me to speak on the topic of publishing. And I was talking, and one of the audience members came in and she asked the question, how much do you charge for for speaking engagements. And I had to respond the same way like you. Are you going to look at someone else and compare yourself to them? Are you credible enough? Right? Are you credible? Is the credibility there that you can attract certain kind of premium rates for your
Right,
speaking, or where do you enter the market? So these are all rhetorical questions that I left the audience to really think about. Because sometimes people will think that, okay, you speak, I'm gonna copy what you speak, and then I'm gonna go out there and then I'm gonna command some big monies for speaking. But do they know you? What is your background? Where is the credit? Where does the credibility lie? Are you
right.
credible? Are you out there? And you spoke a little bit about that, where when you just started, you took the picture, and Dr. Jaja and all of them, you were in it, and then it went on the Observer front page and stuff like that. So when people looking on now, they can go back in time and look at your track record. Again, I use the word prolific, and you said, no, I'm not prolific because you only have two books, but you're prolific in what you have done with those two books. You've used it as a tool to earn an income, to develop that credibility that you already had in terms of your accounting career and background, and then the market that you went out to. And what you also had is what I remember in terms of wherever you are going. Remember that you said anywhere there is foot traffic, it's an opportunity. Basically, that's what you said. And that's one thing I will walk away with, just to say thanks to you for
Anywhere
sharing
there's
that.
traffic,
Any
anywhere there's traffic.
Anywhere there's traffic.
Yes, yes,
Anywhere
yes.
there's traffic.
Definitely,
Yes, anywhere there's
definitely.
traffic. So, any last words as we wrap up?
You know, I I feel so blessed
Uh,
that at this stage of my life,
right, right,
in what I call the legacy season,
yes,
God has been able to make a way,
yes,
because it is no secret, and I talk about it in the book. I never planned for retirement.
right,
I never
right,
saved a dime.
right, right, right.
And I just happened to have fallen into this thing because of unfortunate
Right,
circumstances.
right,
But God has made a way for me.
right.
And, I feel very blessed
Yes,
to be in
yes,
this
yes,
place.
yes,
And
yes,
therefore, I, these engagements that I am doing, it is a mission.
yes.
I feel like I'm on a mission, and I am empowering people, and I am helping people to have better lives. I
Mm-hmm,
will help people to have better lives than
mm-hmm,
they would have had if,
mm-hmm,
I had not been out there sort of championing this cause.
mm-hmm,
And yesterday, I got a call from one of the big companies in Jamaica. Actually, I spoke to somebody, a friend, and I said, I have two engagements for May. And
mm-hmm,
within a half an hour of that conversation, somebody called me
mm-hmm,
from one of the big companies to say that I was referred to them by
mm-hmm,
by somebody, and they
mm-hmm.
are having two retirement seminars in June
Yeah.
in June. and,
So,
and they want me. so
excellent.
May is taken care of, June is
Yes,
taken
yes,
care of.
yes,
You see?
yes, yes,
So
yes,
I'm just grateful, and I will just continue to do this work and
yes,
to be on this mission,
yes, yes,
and
yes.
until the Lord is
Yeah.
ready.
So I know you do other things, like um you do you play instruments. You said I know you play the organ because I'm
Yes,
always seeing you at stuff, playing it online on social media. And also you
I play
mentioned the
the
violin,
steel pan, the
and you
steel
still the
pan.
tea plant too. So
Yes,
you're a really musical
I don't,
enthusiast.
I have kind of put the violin aside, but
I've
I,
put the violin aside.
yeah, but I actually play in a steel band,
Yes,
and we had to play on Easter Sunday
yes,
afternoon at a
yes,
concert.
yes,
So, and then you see, these things are the things that
yes.
are you help to boost my
Right,
credibility.
right,
You
right,
see,
right, right,
because when I write a book and have a chapter in there telling you about learning a musical instrument
right,
at
right.
60, at
Yes,
60 years
yes,
old.
yes.
And people see me doing that
Doing it. Right,
at 76
right,
years old.
right.
You see,
76.
it boosts your
Of
credibility.
course, and it is a testament to you walking your talk. So I will just say thank you very much, and I know you're on social media. Where can they find you on social media?
You know what?
Where can they find you on social media?
Oh, on social media. Yes,
Mm-hmm,
I am P. Reid-Waugh
mm-hmm,
or Patricia Reid-Waugh.
mm-hmm.
Anyone, and that is that's I just use my name for all platforms. Uh,
Okay.
IG,
Yeah,
Instagram,
yeah,
Facebook,
yeah.
and LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
I'm not on TikTok yet, but I think my 77th birthday is gonna be in July. And if I'm alive and well, I think I'm gonna use that
To kick it off.
the TikTok for
You are you
my
are
launch on
actually
TikTok.
you are actually an inspiration. Thank you so much, Miss Patricia.
Yes,
It was a
you're most
pleasure,
welcome.
absolute pleasure
And
speaking with
by the
you.
way, do you know that today happens to be World Book Day?
Yes, I do.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah, thank you
it's a
so
pleasure
much. Yes,
talking
yes,
to you
yes,
about
yes, yes, yes,
books.
yes. And I'm Dr. Shelly Cameron, and I do love speaking with authors who are out there doing a lot of stuff, and can inspire authors. I have these literary conversations with authors who are doing their thing and need to step out. And as I said to you before, the whole purpose of all of this, the audience, is for you to understand that as new authors or aspiring authors, don't just publish and run, but apply the skills that Miss Patricia Reid-Waugh has mentioned here and go out there and do the unnational, the untraditional stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks again for this wonderful conversation, Miss Patricia.
My pleasure.